Welcome everyone. My name is Sydney Park. I am Miss Five Boroughs 2021. I am so excited to be joined by Carolyn McLeod and Alan McCall. Welcome to both of you.
My name is Justin Timberlake. Oh, sorry. Then I woke up. Alan McCall. I am the current president of the Scots Charitable Society, entering the first year of my second term as president. I've been involved with the organization for about 10 years. I was the scholarship chair for 3 years and the events chair for 3 years. And just looking forward to trying to get out of this COVID world and get our organization back to normal so we can do all the great things that we do.
So I'm Carolyn McLeod. I'm president of the Women's Auxiliary Board of the Scots Charitable Society. I've been president for 8 years.
Wow.
I got started when my husband was chair of a scholarship committee, and we held the face-to-face interviews at our home. And I used to go away for the day and come back, but the students were all done, but the interview teams were still there, and the excitement and the tales about how wonderful these awardees could be made me very excited. And I decided to join the organization, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And now here both of you are. So in your own words, could you please explain to the people who are watching this video what exactly your organizations are?
Well, Scots Charitable Society is the oldest charitable organization in the Western Hemisphere. I believe there's an organization in London that beats us by like 10 years. And it basically started out as a poor box society of indentured servants from Scottish prisoners of war who, after their serviture was done, stayed in the New England area and created a poor box for each other and did charitable work for each other. And it just blossomed from there. Amazing that 350, however, years later, the organization is still going. We provide financial assistance through relief aid for folks of Scottish distraction. We also have a very vibrant scholarship program, which Carolyn can also speak to. And more recently, we've added a third wheel to the organization as far as promoting Scottish culture, our heritage, through special events. And right now we're going strong, with bringing in new members and trying to embrace social media as best we can. That's why we need people like you, Sydney. And just, we want to be around for another 375 years.
So the Women's Auxiliary obviously is not as old as the Scotch Charitable Society, but the women were always helping. The wives, the sisters, the mothers were always helping for decades and decades and decades. And although the Scotch Charitable Society does not have anything in its constitution that prohibits women from joining, women didn't join. I don't know whether they were discouraged by their husbands, who knows? But anyway, well, it all sort of came to a head in 1872 when the Scotch Charitable Society purchased a home on Camden Street in Boston. It was sort of a halfway house for Scottish gentlemen that needed a roof over their heads. And the wives prepared the meals, they did the laundry, they did the cleaning, and they were like, it's about time we got some recognition. So after pushing, I think, the organization for a few years, they finally formed the Women's Auxiliary Board in 1878. And our primary purpose back then, similar to the Scots, we provided relief to Scottish women and their children. In 1917, we became incorporated in Massachusetts, and we are now our own 501c3 nonprofit organization.
So currently, who are your members? Where are they from? And if people were interested in joining, how would they go about doing that?
So we're a fairly small group of people. We have less than 50 members. All of them are from the New England area. predominantly around in Massachusetts. We have, again, sort of like the Scotch Charitable, we have our membership is aging. And we do have some younger members. Usually when students come through the award, the scholarship process, mothers get interested. We do have one advantage, I think, over the Scotch Charitable Society. You do not have to be of Scottish heritage to join our organization. You can simply be married to a Scottish man, or you can be simply interested in Scottish heritage in general. And that's where I come in, because I married a MacLeod. And so I got sort of interested in it, and I got sort of hooked up in it's wonderful to be able to associate yourself, because I was sort of a mutt, you know, of a compilation of a lot of different backgrounds, but it was just so much fun I equally embrace the Scottish heritage. I have the kilt, the whole thing. I like to, you know, we had a daughter that did Highland dancing for years. So that's sort of our membership and me specifically.
So our demographic is much the same as what Carolyn had said, basically the New England area. Again, we have kind of an aging membership, so we're actively recruiting younger folks, especially those who come to our scholarship program that maybe want to give back to the organization at some point. You do have to, at this point, need to be of Scottish blood to join. Every year, our Board of Governors kind of tackles this issue, and we have nice debates about whether we want to go what the women are doing and take in spouses of the men to become, members of the organization, or anybody that just likes the bagpipes and wants to help us out. Right now, we're not there. We've kind of made it easier over the last few years. Before, you needed to be sponsored by somebody and then go through a vetting process. Right now, it's an open membership. If you, make an application to our membership secretary, there's an interview with one or two of our Board of Governors meeting members, and then you get introduced at the next scheduled meeting. We are looking to make sure that people coming in have an interest in being on a committee or doing some kind of work, not just paying the dues and that type of thing. So it's about 120 active members right now. Used to be more. We're slowly turning the curve a little bit. Maybe 200 names on the list that are inactive but haven't been totally forgotten yet. So we're trying to get to the younger population to fill in the ranks. We do have a lifetime membership program where you can sign up to be a lifetime member. After 30 years, you're a lifetime member. So we've come a long way in making it easier to become part of our organizations.
You forgot the most important part, Alan. You now have women members.
We do.
I think it's only within the last 5 years that you now have
Maybe
women members.
maybe even 3 years. Yeah. So again, like Carolyn said, we never ever said women can't join. It just was one of those things that they didn't, or it was kind of viewed as an old boy network. But we recognize the contribution that the women have made to our organization, and we finally did vote in Helen Sales, right? I believe. I think it was 3 years ago, and I believe there are 13 now that have joined. So.
Oh, congratulations.
That's great news. Both of you kind of mentioned the things that your organizations do throughout the year. Both of you talked about the scholarship program, and Alan, you spoke a little bit about the types of events that you're hoping to put on in terms of cultural events. So could you both speak a little bit about what types of events you put on throughout the year, and if you have any fun stories from one of them that you'd like to share?
Well, we have our traditional Scottish events that we try to recognize. So that would be, a Burns Day, Tartan Day, St. Andrews. So we try to do some kind of event to honor those traditional Scottish occurrences. We do a golf outing. We've tried barbecues and things like that throughout the year. It's kind of like whoever the events chairperson is has an idea and sees if it sticks to the wall. But we try to do 3 or 4 events every year, just to get members out there to meet each other and their families. We do participate in as many Highland Games or Celtic events that are happening throughout the New England area. So we have our tent up there and we have our literature, and we try to promote our organization through that. We have a very crackpot marketing team that's into the social media and updating our website and getting a lot of contact that way. So with COVID, we kind of took a step back, not being able to get out there with our traditional events. So we're hoping to, get all those back in the calendar this year and maybe a few more. So anything from kilt walks to, pub crawls to whiskey tasting to, we partner with NH Scott for a lecture series 2 years ago. So there were 4 events throughout the year. We're trying to embrace our cultural partners to do co-sponsored events, anything that gets our name out there, and to promote the heritage.
So the women's organization doesn't do anything specifically that we do on our own. I think probably we're most involved in the award ceremony for the scholarship recipients. And we do probably, I would say that's 50-50 share in terms of the work, but we do support all of the events that the Scotch Charitable puts on. And my favorite is always the kirking of the tartan.
Yeah.
And
Me too. Yeah.
The year that was my most favorite was when they did it at the famous Old North Church in
Right.
Boston.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And the church was filled with people with their kilts on and their tartan sashes and their flags. And we had a sermon by our chaplain, and it just felt so special.
We had another one in Quincy the following year. That's my favorite event because it just touches so much of the history of Scottish people and how the kirking of the tartan started. It really is more an Americanized holiday than it is in Scotland, but it really comes from, when Scotland was trying to get their independence way back, and those people who had to kind of hide their tartan or Scottish affiliation and do it in secret, and it kind of blossomed into this. We're not hiding it anymore. We're out there with our pipes and our flags and our tartans and our clans, and it's a way to celebrate our heritage and just scream, here we are. And it's just it's a great event, and we try to schedule it around Tartan Day. Unfortunately, Tartan Day is again not going to happen. It was going to be on my birthday this year too. I can't. No. Can you believe that? So we're those are things that we really want to stay in tune with, and looking forward to next year where we can march with our banner and in our kilts and all the clans in our organization itself. It's a very versatile. So
I'm very much looking forward to next year too, when I can wear my kilt and walk in the parade, hopefully. Yeah. But I did want to ask you guys, would you just walk through the process of the scholarship application and what that looks like? Since I know that that's something that is of interest for younger people like myself and was very helpful for me as a student. It's been very helpful for my family. So would you just walk through that process and what that application looks like?
Okay, so we have a committee, half Scottish, Scotch Charitable and half Women's Auxiliary, and we meet year round. We work on the application, the new application for every year, and it's posted on January 1st on the Scotch Charitable Society website. The word goes out to our members that it's posted, and usually our past recipients that are re-upping know enough to go and check the website. There's a detailed application process. They have to write an essay about their Scottish heritage. They have to write an essay about their academic achievements and their interests outside of school. And they have to provide a resume. They have to get a letter from a sponsor. All of our applicants have to be either sponsored by a member of the auxiliary or the Scotch Charitable. If they don't know anybody personally, we find a sponsor for them who follows them through their academic career. You get a letter of recommendation from a faculty member, and then any other materials that they want to provide, including obviously their grades. And that's all due by April 1st. And the committee takes the materials in, and then we form interview groups. I'm always on the group that interviews the first-time females, because the Women's Auxiliary has a special award for a first-time female. The Scotch Charitable also has a special award for the first-time male applicant. We give out awards for, there's an academic award, there's an engineering award, and there's now a recent new award in memory of my husband that's looking at the creative and performing arts. So we form 4 interview teams, and then the students come and are interviewed in person. This past year, we had to do it over Zoom, which went quite well, actually. I think the students were used to it more than we were, but it's better to actually see them in person, even if it's on a screen, than over the telephone. So interviews go on all day. They last about 10 to 15 minutes. And that's how many applicants we have. We've got 4 teams working from around 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, interviewing the students. Then the team gets together. We do have a decision rubric. It's not just totally subjective. You get points for your academic standing. You get points for your outside activities. You get points for your essays. Oh, the interview, you get points for the interview itself. And then we have put all the numbers up, and we don't just throw them in the air. We have a huge spreadsheet, and then that we give out between the 2 organizations, we give out about $100,000 a year in scholarships.
Wow.
We are now think, because we have created certain requirements, that the kids that are interested kind of self-select. So we used to get 60 or 70 applicants. Now we get around 30 or 40. But the quality of the field is outstanding, just outstanding.
Yeah, a lot of bright kids. It's a special day, interview day, just to see them come in, and most times they'll be 10, 15 minutes early, so we get a chance to talk to them before they just kind of calm their nerves down a little bit, and just find out about who they are. Many of them are, had parents that have gotten a scholarship before, and it's just it's great. It's a great day. And then the ceremony itself, a lot of work goes into that. Maybe 2/3 of the recipients get a chance to come. We try to get them all to be there and, recognize them. We have a keynote speaker. I remember one very good one, a past recipient who comes and talks about their experience. And it's just a good day for both organizations to celebrate what they do and our accomplishments. And hopefully we'll be able to do that again in person this year. So.
Right.
So for the past several years, we've had the awards ceremony at a vocational high school in the auditorium. We pipe the recipients into the auditorium where their families are waiting for them. We have what is it that we do the reading of?
The charge of the charitable. Yeah. So it's an excerpt of one of basically the mission statement that was written back by the founding fathers of the organization, that talks about what the organization is and why it's existing. And so we read a copy of that. So.
So besides the young lady who's interviewing us, Sydney Park, who was a guest speaker several years ago, one of the other memorable, they're all memorable. They're recipients that come back and tell us what they've done since college. And one also was a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, and he brought with him a video of how they make food items with a 3D printer. They created a tiny little pumpkin that they filled with mousse. They created a Eiffel Tower out of sugar with a 3D printer. So every year it's always interesting to see what our guest speakers are going to share with us.
I think that was one of my favorite speeches that I remember very clearly.
Right.
And I think it's actually my mom's favorite speech of all the ones she's seen, including mine.
You got outranked by that, even with your
Got
mother,
outranked
right?
by the 3D printer. I can't blame her. It's really a very special day, and it's a special day for the recipients, and it's a special day for families too, to recognize their accomplishments and the things that they've been doing. I do remember having to go up, as Alan mentioned, some people can't make it, and that's okay. And I remember having to go up 3 times to go and collect one for me, one for Cameron, one for
Right,
Avery,
yeah.
sitting back down, and everyone was like, why does she keep going up? Is it the same person?
And your sister is applying this year.
Yes, Devin is applying. So I wish her luck.
We cannot be bribed. I'm sorry, Sydney.
Darn it. Well, as a final last note, I wanted to ask you guys, clearly this is something that means a lot to you, otherwise you wouldn't be volunteering your time to do it. So I want to know from you, why do you think this work is important, and why do you think the things that your organizations do, why do you think they're important for people to be engaged with and to be involved with?
Well, from my standpoint, the Women's Auxiliary does not give out relief anymore, unlike the Scotch Charitable. So this is our big commitment to supporting people of Scottish heritage, and not only supporting them, but giving them a leg up for the future. And I think that the process of having to research their Scottish heritage for our essay sections, some of them that had never really thought about it that much, or their families hadn't been that active, they too embrace it. And I think that stays with them going forward. And so from my standpoint, I think it does a lot for people of Scottish heritage, this scholarship initiative.
Well, I mean, we owe it to our founding fathers of the organization to keep it going. That would be reason enough for the fortitude they have and what they had been through prior to forming the organization, and to see how it just was a seed to something that became so great is one reason. Kilts are expensive and you need places to go to wear them, so we're providing that too. But I mean, it's just, it's an opportunity to it's not only the relief part of it or the scholarship part of it, but it's to preserve and promote our proud Scottish heritage. And it gives Scots in the area an opportunity to do that, to come to a dance or a dinner or whatever event we're doing, and be able to flex those Scottish muscles and just put on the kilt or wear the tartan and just be proud. And I think it's very important that people in Scottish families, young people, just understand how special they are. What's in their blood is something that is so unique, and they should be proud of. And anything we can do to kind of foster that, would be great. And personally for me, I feel like I have a giving nature. My profession is working with homeless families, finding jobs for them. This is another opportunity for me to be in a charitable spot to, take my knowledge and expertise and put it to something that I'm passionate about. And as long as that need is there, I'll be around.
So I want to sort of back this up just a little bit. When Alan was talking about the start of the Scotch Charitable Society, the date that it was formed, 1657.
Yes.
is extremely important because in 1650, a lot of Scots were imprisoned. They were forced marched to London, where they were put on ships
Right.
as prisoners and sold actually all over the world. But some of them were sold into serfdom here in Massachusetts at the Saugus Iron Works.
Right.
And they were indentured servants for 7 years. And when they came out of that 7 years commitment, not commitment, imposed commitment, they had no means to get back to Scotland or to start their own lives here in this country. And so the Scotch Charitable Society were men in the area that had established themselves, and they reached out to this group of ex-prisoners and gave them a leg up to either return to Scotland or to get established in this country. And to me, that date, that 7 years from the time they were captured to the time that Scotch Charitable Society reached out to them is extremely important.
Well said, yes.
Sydney, one of the questions that you had asked was if anybody's curious about learning more. There's a podcast, Maine Historical Society has a podcast where they're hosted a woman named Carol Gardner that wrote a fascinating book. It's called The Involuntary American, Scottish Prisoner's Journey. And it's written from the viewpoint of one of the men that was put on the ships, torn away from his family and sent to the New World. And we learned about it from one of our applicants because she heard the podcast and it talks about the Scotch Charitable Society and the forming of it. And so she looked us up on the internet, and that's how she found the Scotch Charitable Society, and she applied for a scholarship.
Right. Now, one of the questions you had emailed, and I've lost sleep over this the last few nights, if we would recommend a place to go.
Yes.
I shouldn't have brought it up because I still can't come up with you know what, I would have to say, I know it's probably an obvious commercial answer, but I would have to say Edinburgh. If someone had to go to Scotland for one day for the first time, that city just has everything Scottish. It's history. It's like you go back in time. It's not just it's the Royal Mile and all the modernization of the city and the museums and the castles and the pubs and especially if you go during the Fringe in August where the festival's happening. It's just it's kind of like Scotland in one day. There's so many more places I could recommend, but if you had one place to go, you would have to go there.
So I didn't lose any sleep at all. I knew immediately what I was going to say, and that is the Isle of Skye,
Yeah.
The home of the MacLeod clan. We have our own castle, Dunvegan.
They make Talisker.
The first time that I went to Scotland, we went to the Northwest Highlands and we visited the Isle of Skye. And I could not understand how anybody could stand to live there. It was barren, there was sheep, and there were Scottish broom bushes, and that was about it. But when we got on the plane and flew out of Inverness, I cried. It gets in your bones.
Yeah, it does.
Gets in your bones.
Carolyn, Alan, that is a great note to end on. So if you ever find yourself in Scotland, make sure to go to Edinburgh or to the Isle of Skye if you have the time. Thank you both so much for joining me on this short interview. I hope everyone watching this will go and research more about the Scots Charitable Society and the Women's Auxiliary. If you want to learn more about the Scots Charitable Society or the Women's Auxiliary, check them out on Facebook or on their website. The links are in the caption and across my social media. Thank you both so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney. It was a pleasure. Thank you.